bit more organized than me, and your table's set and your food's ready, and tomorrow is just a day at leisure. But the beautiful thing is, before you go to sleep tonight, make sure that your Shabbos table cloth and your challah board are ready, and that your Shabbos candles are ready, and you're going to be in the sukkah, which is really quite something and very, very exciting. So let's go with every little helps. And I think that is something that we all need to do. And seeing that I can't actually welcome my mom on screen, okay, and look for her in where she is in the dark in Shoresh, we can actually wave, Mom.
Hi, everybody.
We can welcome my mom here in London, in real. What do you think, Aidel? Isn't that amazing? There we go. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to mute myself, and we are going to hand over to Rebbetzin Treblow.
If you call me Rebbetzin again, I will leave. That is my theory. Okay, hi everybody. I have to say, these ladies are amazing. I do, like, here you are, and it's Thursday night. It's even Thursday night north of Watford Gap, where I am in Manchester, and you have all managed to actually pause what you're doing, unless you are still cooking while you're listening to me, which is very sensible, and just, you know, and share some beautiful ideas. So I'm hoping to share some lovely ideas with you, but Ezras Hashem. And I want to start actually with a pasuk. This is very b'shat, because as I was listening to Rebbe Sandaf, I was trying to find a source for something, and my husband was in shore, and he asked Rob, and he told me where it was, which is very nice. So thank you for that. So pasuk that we learn in Parashas Emor, right? It talks all about the yontos. We're going to talk about sukkahs. Is that okay? Because it is kind of like sukkahs is coming. You know, I met somebody in the park today when I went for my little walk. And I said, how's Yom Tov going? And she said, which is very true, she said, it's going to come whether I'm ready or not. So I'm just going for a walk. I thought that's really, you know, that's very special if you can do that, you know, just like to do your own thing as well. That's great. Okay, so Pasuk, there's Parashas Emor tells us all about the different Yom Tovs, and one of and it gets to Sukkot, and it says, and you know, I'm quoting here from my Chumash, because ideally we don't quote from the Torah because of the written Torah without actually reading it as we go. So here we go, right? Dabra el bnei Yisrael, Emor Hashem says, speak to the children of Israel, bnei Israel, saying, B'chamisha asar yom l'chodesh, on the 15th day, l'chodesh hashvi, the 7th day, Chag Sukkot is Sukkot the 7th day. This is b'yom harishon, on the first day, Mikra Kodesh, it's a holy. The very old Chumash calls it a holy convocation, right? It's a holy get together, right? A holy get together. So you shouldn't do that. And there's a couple of times apparently the Chumash talks about Sukkot and says on the first day have to lulav, on the first day this, and the Midrash says, well, hang on a minute, it's not the first day. We know what the first day of the month is. The first day of the month is Rosh Hashanah. So why is this the 15th of the month? The Pasuk just said it was the 15th of the month. And if you are lucky enough, like Baruch Hashem here, it's not raining yet at the moment. Baruch Hashem, it won't rain until, you know, we've all been in our sukkah nicely. When you look up at the sky and you see the beautiful moon. We have a thing, don't look straight at the full, look a long time at the full moon, but it's definitely the middle of the month. So why is the Torah telling us it's the first of the month? Comes the Midrash and says it's the first day, Sukkot is the first day of something called the cheshbon, of counting averos, of counting, you know, things you've done wrong. Now that's quite unusual. What's the understanding? You might have heard this before. A lot of what I say today, ladies, actually you might have heard before. We're just going to try and pull it together a bit. So one of the things you might have heard before is that it's the first day where we sort of actually have, it says Chazal, any time to do averos, right? You have Rosh Hashanah, you're busy with Rosh Hashanah. Then you got about a week in the middle, and people are busy with Salichas, and busy with doing Teshuvah, and busy with thinking about where they're going and how they're growing and all the rest of it. And at the end, and then you've got Yom Kippur. And then everyone's busy with sukkahs, putting up the sukkah, buying yerba minim, doing the cooking, doing the paper chain making, whatever it is, whatever everyone's doing. You're busy, busy, busy. There is no time to do any averos. So the first time anyone can sit down and really do any averos is the sukkahs, and that's how we count it. Now, I find that really hard, because I can tell you, I am at my absolute worst when I have the pressure of Tishrei, only equaled possibly by the pressure of Pesach, but we're not talking about Pesach now, are we? Right, so I'm at my absolute worst when I'm talking about Tishrei, right? Then there's the cooking and the cleaning and the running and the building and the this and the mud through. We have a good old-fashioned sukkah, like you have to go in the garden and get muddy. So the mud through the house, this, that, and the other. There's lots of potential to do our Averas, even straight after Yom Kippur. But I want to look at it, Be'ezras Hashem, another way. And I want to do that by starting with a beautiful mashal that my son told me, actually. I want to, anyone ever had any construction work going on? Okay, right where I am, Baruch Hashem, people are always building things, Kanan Harris. So we have, I want to imagine a house, a builder, and he's building the house. He starts off with the floor. I don't know how he builds houses, right? He does the doors, he does the windows, he does the first story. First story's done, okay? Then he builds up a bit more, goes up to the second story. So now he's on, the second bit of the house. Then he puts the rafters on, and he's standing on his ladder, and he's about to do the tiles. And all of a sudden, the ladder starts to shake. And he's shaking and he's shaking and he's wobbling around, and he shouts, "The building's falling down, the building's falling down." So what happens? Everybody comes running. Everybody comes running to rescue him. And they straighten the ladder. They say, "What are you talking about? The building's absolutely fine. You're falling off the ladder, but the building is absolutely fine." And one of the understandings of that, which we're going to build into, is something like this: Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur are like a building. You build that building. Even if the next bit of growth is a little bit shaky, right? Even if we kind of lose a bit here and lose it there and don't get it quite there, the building's still there. The bit that we've done is still there, and it's still valid, and it still works. It's just we got a little bit shaky. There's other ways of understanding that story, but that's the concept. It doesn't, the fact that we might get a little bit shaky with our mitzvahs, with our temper, with our whatever else we have to do now, doesn't take away the work that we did over Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, right? In fact, I was heard recently of a young man who, after Yom Kippur, there's a thing that it's very special to look at a picture of a tzaddik. Some people put a picture of a tzaddik, in their sukkah. Some people have on their walls pictures of famous rabbis, and that's supposed to, inspire us, have quite a spiritual effect. And he would walk around, this young man, after Yom Kippur and say, "Look at me, you're supposed to look at tzaddikim, look at me." And although he was joking, there's a truth to that, because after Yom Kippur, everybody is a tzaddik. Anyone you talk to, as Yom Kippur goes out, they are a big tzaddik. Now, I know what you're going to say. We'll get to it in a minute. Well, I wasn't perfect on Yom Kippur. We'll get to that. Okay, but the concept's there. You're looking at a big tzaddik. Excuse me 1 minute, ladies. I'm okay. Have a nice time. Okay, bye-bye. Close the door. Yes, close the door, darling. You're on air. You're famous. Okay.
Oh, hi.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so what happens then? So what happened? Let's take it for now because you are, Hashem says you are a big tzaddik after Yom Kippur. Everybody, doesn't matter how you kept Yom Kippur, doesn't matter, did you manage to make it to shul all day? Like these, famous pictures of famous people doing that. Were you sitting at home? Did you concentrate on everything, little thing? No, after Yom Kippur, everybody, Hashem says, is a big tzaddik. So what happens? What happens now? What happens between Yom Kippur and Sukkot? So Rabbi Twersky asked the question. He says, how come after Yom Kippur, right? They blow the shofar. I am getting to Sukkot, by the way, don't worry. After Yom Kippur, they blow the shofar, and we blow the shofar, and we and everyone, some people go home, but everyone sits in davens Ma'ariv. And in Ma'ariv, they say the regular Shmoneh, so the regular davening, and part of that is a bit where we say Slach lanu, and we say ask Hashem to forgive us. One of the Chassid rabbis asked the question, well, what's to forgive? Because you just had Yom Kippur and you just said I'm a big tzaddik. So what is it I have to forgive now? Because why am I saying that? And we know that we don't say a bracha Hashem's name in vain. We don't say brachas with no meaning. It's called a bracha levatala. So if Chazal said that straight after Yom Kippur we've got to ask for forgiveness, how does that work? Answer is, what are we asking forgiveness for? We're asking forgiveness from Hashem for not 100% believing that Yom Kippur worked. For not 100% believing that we are now tzaddikim. And he gives an example. Rabbi Twersky came from Pittsburgh. Right now, Pittsburgh, if you've ever been there, on the ways to get to shul from more or less anywhere, you have to go up when I say steep hill, it's kind of like, it's not quite perpendicular. It's very, 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 very steep, right? And in the summer, it's very hot, but in the winter, it gets extremely icy and slippery. So he tells a story. He was going to shore, and if you've heard this, then just go to sleep for a minute. But he's going to shore one day, and it's been raining or snowing or something. It's absolutely sheet, almost like sheet ice, and he's carefully, gingerly, one step at a time, walking, trying to get down this hill, and again, it's or up the hill, probably down the hill, right? It's about 3 and the whole way is up and down these steep hills. Okay, and he gets 1 block from his house, carefully, 2 blocks, 3 blocks. He's nearly there. 4 blocks. He's getting to that block. He's getting to that block. What is the 3rd block? And all of a sudden, he falls, which is very, very painful. But Baruch Hashem is okay, apart from a bit of a bruise. So he gets himself up again, and this time he's going even more slowly and even more carefully, because obviously he wasn't careful enough the 4th time, the 1st time, or the 2nd. But here's the but. He's already looked back. He has done 3 blocks. Yes, he fell over. Yes, he had to be more careful, but he did those 3 blocks. Those 3 blocks were still there. He is now further from where he started than he was before. He started his house. He's 3 blocks from his house. He's nearer to shore than he was. So yes, he tripped over, but he has done something. That 3 blocks are really important. And here's the third thing. Not only can we not take that away from ourselves, whatever work we did over Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, not only can we not take it away, we don't have permission to take that away. Who are I, you, anybody to say that the work we did wasn't good enough? Whatever job it was, everybody, we take on very little things, don't we? Because you take on something too big, it doesn't happen. But, who am I? Who are you? Who's anyone to say, well, it wasn't really very much, and it doesn't really count, and I haven't really, achieved any growth. But we don't have permission to say that. We don't have permission to say, that this wasn't good enough. There's this beautiful quote, which I don't have in front of me. It's actually not a Jewish quote, and I wish I remember who it's from. If anyone finds it, let me know. And she has this whole thing, and she says, people ask themselves, who am I to be gorgeous, brilliant, wonderful? And she said, actually, who are you not to be? And she said, you're a child of God. That's her lashon, actually. She says, if you're a child of Hashem, you have to be the best you can. And you have permission, not only permission, we would say almost more than that. It is okay for you to be everything, and to look at what you can do, and look at what you have done, and look at everything with a good light, even if it doesn't measure up in our mind's eye to what we may have liked to have done, okay? Now, it's very interesting. The Rambam in Hilchos Teshuvah, like I said, this sounds a bit Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, but we will get to Sukkot, okay? So something like he talks very famously about, that you have a tzaddik, a purely righteous person, a purely bad person, a righteous person, a bad person. Righteous person is somebody whose good outweighs the bad. Rasha's the other way around, and someone exactly in the middle, who's a Beinoni. And then the Rambam says, there's loads of things we can do right, and there's loads of things we can do wrong. And he says, and none of us know what counts as a light kind of, sort of a budget bargain basement kind of mitzvah, and what counts as difficult. None of us know. Only Hashem, who knows everything and understands what's going on, knows what's hard for this one, or knows what's easy for that one, or knows what's a challenge, what's worth more, I guess. So you say, if you're trying to talk about it, in terms of money, what is worth more? What's worth more? We don't know the difference. So where is it coming from? If we've got all these halachas, where is it coming from that many people, and if this isn't you, then don't listen for a few minutes. Many people get to Sukkot, hear that midrash, which is quoted quite a lot, and say, well, actually, I haven't done anything much really. I'm not sure I do. So there's one idea. In another of my jobs, I work in a high school, and I had a conversation. I've had this conversation lots of times actually, but at some point one of the girls will say to me, they'll say, but why is it that my marks are not me? Why is it always about what grade I'm going to get in my GCSEs? Why is it about that? That's not who I am. And they are absolutely right. It's not who they are. It's not who they are. What that is, ladies, that 1 mark, pass or fail, all or nothing, is what I like to call the Edom mentality. It's a Gullus mentality, and it's very much a Western world view that only looks at the end product. If you haven't got it 100%, if you haven't got whatever it's called, a level 5 in your GCSEs, if you haven't hit that bonus, that target on your sales, you may as well not have bothered. It's all or nothing. We actually see that from Esav, right? Esav is compared to Yaakov. They're both, when they're talking about who has what, Esav is one that you might have heard this, says, Yeshli Raiv, I have a lot. And Yaakov Avinu, who is the Jewish point of view, says, I have everything. one of the ways of understanding that is for a suck, if I haven't got absolutely everything, if I haven't got it 100%, then I can never really say I've got enough. Whereas Yaakov says, okay, look, this is what I've got. And this is what obviously what I need for now, because otherwise, if I was supposed to have more, I would have more. But this is what I've got for now. But we tend to fall for it somehow or other. Well, maybe you don't. I do. We tend to fall for this. If I haven't got it perfectly right, then I haven't done anything. If I haven't, Sukkah's time, like you've got all these beautiful, if you get these things, Mishpacha and all the rest of it, those magazines with these perfect table settings, and I sort of look into my sukkah with the rain dripping through the roof. It's not going to rain. It's not going to rain. But if it is rain, I'm going to, go into our sukkah, and my table doesn't look like that. So does that mean I haven't got a table? Right? If you look at these, everything, it's, there's recipes, this, and let's talk about cooking for a minute. Let's talk about, let's talk about, I don't know, marks you get, sales you make if you're working, any jobs we do. If we haven't done it 100%, we tend to feel like it cancels out all the good bits we have done, right? But that's not a Jewish mentality. It's not the Torah mentality, but there's an antidote, okay? Along comes Sukkot, okay? So Sukkot is going to hopefully cure us of that mentality, okay? There's lots of different ways of looking at it. Here are three. You probably might have heard of all of these previously, but let's see how we look. So one of the things about sukkahs is a sukkah, right? Obviously, okay. A sukkah, as you probably know, can have 4 walls. Okay, it can have 3 walls. It can have 2 and a bit walls. Now, 4 walls makes sense, right? If you've got 4 walls, you're totally enclosed and the roof stays on. 3 walls, again, if you would have a wall there, you can't really see me here, a wall there, the roof will stay on. Now, when we were trying to put up our lovely sukkah recently, we've got a framework over there and another line over there. So you've got one wall that way, one wall that way. And it took a lot of people, well, 3 of us, had to hold onto it to help stop it collapsing. And then it started to put on the next bit of the 3rd wall. So it wasn't the whole 3rd wall, it was like a little bit of it. And I said, it's going to fall down, because that's what I do. And my daughter said, no, it's not. It'll be fine now. And she was right. One little bit, that wincy bit of that 3rd wall was enough to hold that whole to hold that whole sukkah off and to hold the roof on. Rabbi Jacobson quotes the Balatanya, who says that that sort of 2 and a bit walls of a sukkah is comparable to a hug from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's a hug from Hashem. Because when you hug somebody, if you think about how you would do that, if you would put, like you do I'm demonstrating, but you can't see me. I would do the top half of your arm, like the top from your shoulder to your elbow is 1 bit. That's 1. Then from your elbow to your wrist is 2. And then the little sort of your hands bit is that tiny bit of the 3rd bit. And it's interesting that if you want to show, physical affection for somebody and show love, a hug is the only thing you can do when that they've got their back to you. And think about maybe a child sitting on their mother's lap, right? Or something like that. You can hug somebody from behind. You can help somebody feel held and safe with a hug, much more than any other, more than anything else. Somebody quoted, I have no knowledge of this firsthand, you're pleased to hear. There's a famous boxer, apparently, called Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson was sitting somewhere in LA, possibly, minding his own business, and a guy comes up to him and challenges him to a fight because he's a famous boxer and he wanted to make himself look good. He would record it on his phone and he would send it around and look really good that he's having a fight with Mike Tyson. Now, Mike Tyson is happily minding his own business, trying to have a drink. He doesn't want to have a fight. But to everyone's sort of shock horror, the chap who wants to make himself famous pulls out a gun and threatens, if you don't have a fight with me, then, or have a boxing match with me, or I'll shoot you. What does Tyson do? He gets up and gives the guy, wait for it, a whacking big hug. Now, I thought maybe it's because he wanted to break his ribs, but no, that hug, that holding somebody, now it's not obviously the same as us in our sukkah, right? With Hashem's hugs, but that concept of being held and being safe in a sukkah, you don't need all 2 big arms. Hashem said it's enough. You've got 2 walls, because you have that, and 1 little extra bit. A tiny little extra bit makes 2 walls into a sukkah. It doesn't have to be a whole wall. It doesn't have to be 2 more whole walls. That little bit, Hashem says, I'm going to accept that. I will accept that little bit of an extra wall as everything. It's enough. You can even have that's good enough. That little extra bit. That's the first one. Second one, is very familiar to a lot of us when Chazal compare the Arba Minim, the 4 species that we take on sukkahs, to different sorts of people. It talks about the esrog, which has a smell and a taste. So right, it talks about the palm tree, which, the lulav, which used to be a date palm, a bit of a date palm, which has a taste but not a smell. We have the hadassim, which have a smell but no taste, and we have the aravais, which have no taste and no smell. And they're compared to different sorts of people. One who's, who has good deeds and learns a lot, and good spiritual awareness, I guess you want to call it, right? Okay, one who has one or the other, and the aravas is somebody who has neither. It doesn't matter. You can have people spend tons on their Arba Minim. We'll get to this. You can have the best lulav, the most beautiful hadassim, the most mahadrin esrog. You can spend tons on it. But 2 days before Sukkot, you've got to go and get your arabais. You can't get them any earlier, right? They're not going to last. You can get a lulav a week beforehand. You can get an esrog. You can get 2 weeks beforehand. You really can't go and get arabais within, more than a day or 2 in advance. And even then, they might dry out by the time you get to Chol Hamoed Sukkot, okay? But so you've got to get them last minute. And they're like, why would you need those? No smell, no taste, getting a bit faded and crumpled. You've got to be careful of them. Hashem's saying, that little thing, that thing that looks like it doesn't have any value, that person, people do not have a value. We'll get to that. That thing that looks inconsequential, it's so feeble that you can't even store it in advance. That is what makes your Arba Minim. If you don't have that, you haven't done that. You haven't done that mitzvah. But if you have done that, that one little extra, well, 2 actually, but those little extras, that little thing that you might think is so inconsequential, you walk past them every day, you might do if you live near a park and there's willow trees there. That is what's making the big difference. But you don't necessarily know that when you just look at it, right? Like you wouldn't think that a little bit of a sukkah wall would make such a difference, right? Third one, I have to go back to Sefer Bereshis for this one, okay? Also connected with sukkah, so we'll get to it, okay? On sukkahs, in Bereshis, sorry, when Hashem made the trees, okay? And he made the grass and he made everything else. And he gives a command to the grass and the trees that they should be fruit trees that may bear fruit. Okay, so it's called an eitz pri isa pri, a fruit tree that bears fruit, and the grass should be grass that brings fruit. Everything's supposed to be something that does something. Chazal look at the words in the pasuk and they say that the tree or the grass, whatever it is, or the trees, some of the trees made a mistake. Okay, some trees became an eitz isa pri, a tree that makes fruit, and other trees became an eitz pri, a fruit tree that makes fruit. What's the difference? A tree that makes fruit is the only thing that the tree, if it's thinking, right, the only thing that is valid is if it actually gets to make the fruit, right? It doesn't matter what it takes to get there. If it makes a fruit, it's a valuable tree, and if it doesn't, it thinks, or the malach in charge of how it thinks it's not valuable. An eitz pri isa pri says, if I make the fruit, that's fantastic. But the fact that in and of itself, it is a fruit tree. It's taking the steps, as it were, right? It's going through a process of making trees, if that makes sense. If a process of making fruit is valuable in and of itself. It's that process of taking steps, of moving forward, of not saying, well, if I haven't done it, or if I haven't done the fruit, I'm not worth anything. Even in the process of moving towards being a fruit tree, that is valuable. What tree does Chazal tell us that at first? So actually 2. One is a pepper tree, okay, and there's a possibility that pepper tree could be because we could use for Arba Minim, but the tree that is an esrog tree. And although I haven't personally, actually, I did try this once a long time ago, but if you would apparently taste the bark of an esrog tree or smell the bark of an esrog tree, if you would smell the bark of an apple tree when there's no apples on it, it's a tree. It wouldn't be any different, right? If you would try and eat the bark, wouldn't taste of anything. Same with orange trees. I don't know. You'd say, I don't know what other fruit trees are there. Peach trees, plum trees, whatever else it is. But the bark of an esrog tree apparently smells and tastes like an esrog, which is telling us on a deeper level. And again, that's that sukkahs bit. Going through that process, we did Rosh Hashanah, we did Yom Kippur, we moved towards sukkahs, going through that process, working towards doing that little bit. And here we are, because there is a cost of living crisis. So I do have to quote Tesco's. Okay, every little bit helps. Okay, going through that process and doing that step by step bit is so important and is so valuable that that estrog actually gets a place in the Arba Minute, right? And you know, people spend a huge amount of time and energy getting a beautiful estrog. It's valuable. It's called, the Torah says, a pre-Eitz Hadar, a beautiful tree. And the beauty is in the fact that the malach, the angel of the tree, the malach of the tree, however you want to understand it, is that that tree is showing us that the little steps that you made, they can't be taken away. They are as valuable in a lot of ways as whatever the end product is. And like we learned from the Rambam, we don't always know what the end product is. We don't always know what our little things have achieved. We're very, very, very good. Well, I'm very, very good. You might not be. We're very, very good at comparing and at you know, looking at these inspirational biographies, and they are inspirational. You read beautiful biographies of you know, rabbis and rebbitzins and holy people, and we look at that and we say, well, I may as well give up now, really. You know, there's no point. No, Hashem says, no, you have a mitzvah of sukkah. Sukkah says that every little step you've taken, every little gesture, everything makes a difference. So on sukkahs, if you eat, you know, you can be eating the same thing as you'll be eating inside, but that's making a difference. Okay, you know, you sit down and read a paper in the sukkah, or you go and have your coffee and sticky eclairs in the sukkah, or that's making a difference, even though it would seem like, you know, why is that such a big deal? Why is that happening? Because every little bit that we do, we don't have permission to say it's not valid. We don't have permission to say, like we said in the mashal, that the whole building's falling down. The building isn't falling down, right? Okay, it's not. We have done that. So how do we get around this, you know, remembering that everything is valid and is useful? And I'm just going to apologize, you have to leave a little bit earlier today, so we're going to end in about 10 minutes, but let's see what we can do. So there's a lot of ways we can do it other than just listening to me, you know, go on and on about it. But one of the ways we can do it is like this. Okay, I don't know if any of you have ever heard, there's a chus to hear a shir from Rebbetzin Ravi Brussels. She lives in Eretz Yisrael, and at one point I was going to share with her, and she was talking about you know, different things that people cite or quote or teach, which will inspire people who are not yet religiously committed to learn more about Yiddishkeit, about Torah. Okay, and some people will go for, right, okay, throw a Shabbos at them, right? Okay, you've got, you know, the World Shabbos coming up, throw a Shabbos at people. It's so inspiring, it's so amazing, and it is inspiring, and it is amazing, and it is wonderful. Okay, some people say, you know, take them to a Jewish wedding when they see the simcha and the happiness and the fact how happy people are for each other. That is what inspires people to learn more. Okay, some will say, you know, if you can, you take people to the Kaiser, right, to the Western Wall, and they'll just feel that spirituality. But she says one of the things in her experience from her saying that makes a difference is the halachas that we have between one person and another. We call them bin adam l'chaveirei, right? Okay, because there's very, very few systems, or no systems possibly in the world, religious systems, which have such strict laws, not just about how you worship God, but what you have to do between one person and another. When can you say this? When can you not say that? When do you have to give back lost property? What are the rules about, you know, visiting the sick, all those kinds of things. Okay, so when all of that is happening, okay, all these rules, one of the rules that she mentioned, which blows people's minds, are the rules. We've got very strict rules about halacha of something called dan l'kafsachas, of being dan l'kafsachas, of giving people what's called the benefit of the doubt, but that's a bit of an Englishy translation. It literally means done, which means judge. Lakaf on the like a kaf is like a spoon or a palm. Okay, on the zechus side, right? We use the word zechus these days, meaning to a merit, right? Like, you know, like so many brownie points. Okay, you know, this mitzvah gets you this many zechus. Okay, but the Vilna Gaon says the word zechus comes from the word zach, which means pure. You're judging on them on the pure side, okay, on the clean side, right, on the pristine side, for want of a better word. Now, whether or not you should judge people, right, it works a lot of ways. The practical value to being dan l'kafsachas is it's good for you, help physically, right? It lowers your heart rate, you know, calms your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure, clears your mind, doesn't give you ulcers, whatever. It's kind of good for us to make sure that if somebody does something upsetting, we don't misjudge them. We don't walk around saying, oh, he's a this and she's a that, and they did it on purpose. Okay, so it's good for us physically. Okay, spiritually speaking, it's good for us, we know, because when Hashem deals with us the way we deal with people, so if we are dan l'kafsachas, we judge people as pure, clean, whatever you want to call it. We're done l'kav zechus, so that's how Hashem will do with us. Okay, so far so good. Rabbi Nachman puts it on a much deeper level, and he says like this. He says, when we focus on something that's gone wrong, on someone's on a bad character trait of somebody, he says it's a bit like, if you have something like unpleasant, he uses the example of something, so something unpleasant in the middle of the road. I like to use the example of something sort of in a box at the back of the fridge that you forgot about, right? You probably don't do this, you're all 100% perfect, but in my fridge occasionally there's something in the back, in a box at the back of the fridge that somebody put there to eat tomorrow and totally forgot about it. Okay, and you find it when you're cleaning out the fridge. Okay, as long as, Rabbi Nachman's on, that thing is baked dry in the sun, as long as it's in that box at the back of the fridge, nothing happens, it's fine. But as soon as you start opening it and messing around with it, or standing on the messy fruit on the road, Rabbi Nachman said, or opening it, all of a sudden, it's the horrible smell of it spreads. So you might need to keep it closed. But Rabbi Nachman, he says, when we take a very small good point in a person, and everybody's got one, right? Everybody's got one good point, one good thing they did at one point. Okay, we'll make it real for us in a minute. Everyone's got one of those. You take that small point and you focus on it. It's, I don't want to say magic, but it's a kind of magic, because a miracle happens and that person becomes a better, greater, bigger person because you are focusing on that good thing. It kind of spreads, right? You focus on it, and it's somehow or other it spreads out. It's miraculous, really. It's really incredible. So try this one at home, ladies. I'm going to make it harder in a minute. Okay, so we'll start off. John and Jory, who are a couple in Hawaii, actually, I've done some training with them. They always say, if you're trying to practice these kind of exercises, don't start with the hardest. Okay, if you think on a sort of scale of 1 to 10. Of people that you can't stand, please don't tell me there's no one you can't stand, because I will be very jealous. There's always somebody who gets up your nose or who's upset you. Okay, don't choose the number 10s. Okay, don't choose the ones who really get you riled up. Don't start with that. Let's make it easy. Okay, choose somebody who's mildly irritating. Okay, who just gets up your nose a bit, right? Who's mildly irritating. Someone's sort of like a 2 or 3 on the scale, maybe a 4 if you're very good at this, and you focus really on their good points, and something happens. You want to say psychologically, then what happens is, because you're focusing on their good points, therefore you see them as a good person. But Nachman says, actually what's going to happen is they will become a better person. Even if you don't talk to them ever again, they could be the other side of the world. They could be miles away. They could be, other way. And you're focusing on that good point about them. And that will make them become somehow or other greater, bigger, better, holier, just because I here in my living room are focusing on that good thing about them. So when you've done a 2 or a 3, you can sort of, go up the scale. The 2 or 3 also could be someone who that doesn't matter to you as much. Okay, so to have a practice, here's the really hard one. Okay, when you've done that, okay, we do it for ourselves, right? Rabbi Nachman says that. He says, do it for yourself. You focus on the one. There's got to be one little thing you did right. Okay, everyone has, right? You might have done more. You might have done millions. You have done more. Millions, thousands. We just don't know about them. Some we just take for granted. Don't even realize that it was something good. Okay, so we find our one little thing, right? The equivalent to that little bit of the wall of the sukkah, the equivalent to the arafes, okay? The equivalent of the bark of the tree. We find our one little thing, and we really focus on it. And it doesn't sit with us in England. We're also into not boasting, right? And I've used to, into my time, I've helped people with application forms, for SEMs in universities and this, that, and the other. And it comes really hard to us to boast, but we're not saying boasting. This is not making yourself bigger than you are. This is saying, Baruch Hashem, thank you, Hashem. There is one, you could have done more. This is what's good about me. This is what I've done. And you focus on it and you build on it. You say, well, thank you, Hashem, that you've given me this amazing character trait, opportunity, whatever it happens to be. Thank you very much. And we focus and focus and focus on the one thing we did, and then it spreads. And that little thing can become like a whole sukkah, right? It can become, now you've got a complete arba minim. Now you've got a whole esrog tree. Now you've got that whole building. Okay, so it doesn't have a roof yet. Okay, so your ladder's a bit shaky, but you're getting there. I want to end, ladies, so I'm mindful of the time. I want to end, ladies, we talked right at the beginning, well, a bit earlier, about this idea that Rambam says that when we're focusing on the little things that we've done, we don't know what he calls is a kala, an easy mitzvah, a light mitzvah, and which is a chamor, which is a difficult one. Okay. the Gemara tells us actually, it talks about, you know, something's going to happen in times of Tichayas HaMesim, when the Hashem tests the Goyim with he says, I'll give you an easy mitzvah, and he gives them the mitzvah of sukkah, right? Now, kalaka also means like, you know, cheap and easy. The Kliyah tells us, you know, like it's an easy mitzvah. Now, that's what Chazal say, but you know, my end, I don't know which universe sukkahs is a cheap mitzvah, right? Okay, so you know, yes, you could make a sukkah out of some tree, whatever you've got lying around in your garden, but by the time you've bought your arba minim, and by the time you've cooked your food, it's definitely not cheap, okay, and it's not necessarily, you know, labor free, right? It just isn't. It's hard. So why is it called a cheap mitzvah? Says the Kliyah, my husband told me this yesterday. Says the Kliyah something incredible. It says it's called a cheap, easy mitzvah, sukkah, because the mitzvah of sukkah is the mitzvah of bitachon, of trusting that Hashem knows what he's doing. And that doesn't cost anything. It doesn't, you don't need materials for it. You don't need to have any, you don't need live in a specific place. You don't need to be somewhere where you know it's not going to rain, so you can actually sit in your sukkah. There's the mitzvah of sukkah in terms of bitachon, of trusting Hashem, you can do anywhere. We go out into the sukkah to remind ourselves physically that we trust that Hashem knows what he's doing. But the concept of bitachon is something you can do anywhere. You can have minimal supplies for that. And not only do you not need to spend lots of money on physical things, and have minimal supplies, just like you know, a sukkah is made of, you know, things you've got in your back garden, hopefully. We can be minimal. We can think of ourselves as not the greatest people, and we can still have bitachon. It's a mitzvah you can do even if you don't feel that you personally, or I personally, in my case, am of great spiritual standing. It doesn't matter. That's why it's it's not easy mitzvah, right? It's hard. People find bitachon very, very hard. You look around you, what's going on? You know, gosh, you know, how am I supposed to have bitachon here? But as a concept, I can truly, honestly, and here we go, right? This is one of the ways of understanding the Kliyah. There's other ways. Is if Hashem has said that Yom Kippur helped and has cleansed me of many of the things I've done wrong, it did. Okay, it did. Doesn't matter what I feel like at the end. Doesn't matter if I, you know, how I've, and yeah, there is a thing that after Yom Kippur, you know, if you feel better, then it's works. But Hashem said, if Hashem has said that after Yom Kippur you're a tzaddik, you are. Okay, you can have bitachon with that one. If Hashem has said that I, with all my faults and all my this, I have a good point to build on, and that then I can trust Hashem knows what he's doing. If Hashem has said that 2 walls plus a little extra wall, right? That little bit of an extra wall counts as a whole. I can say, okay, we can say that little bit of extra I did is a massive contribution. Okay, if Hashem can say, look, it's the process. Doesn't matter if you make the fruit at the end. Well, it does matter if you make the fruit at the end. You're aiming to make a fruit at the end, but the process towards the fruit is also important. I can have bitachon that Hashem's acting on that. I can trust Hashem to look at, because this is what he said. I can trust Hashem to look at me in my entirety. I can trust Hashem to look at everybody in their entirety. We start, okay, by looking at other people, focusing on what's good about them. We start by looking at what we've got on sukkahs. Yes, it looks minimal, but it really is a whole thing. We start by looking, and then Tuffy, yeah, we look at ourselves and we say, what is the minimum I've done? And there is something, that little thing, and we use that. And we build on that, okay? Because here we go. And thank you to Mr. Tesco for this one. I'm going to leave this one, ladies. Every little bit really does help. Have a wonderful, wonderful Yom Tov.
Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Something just jumped on my screen. Aidel, that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to use every little bit, and we're going to empower our own personal emunah. And I was hoping that my list would stay very, very small when thinking and focusing on those 2 to 3 and moving it forward. But the truth is that we all know that as soon as we focus on something that somebody does for us, which is good, it actually helps us to get to the next stage. Okay, so quickly, before we want to let Aidel go, but we're going to see quickly, we're just going to do our Erev Sukkot, Erev Shabbos Hafrasha, and we are just blessed. I cannot believe, I have to be honest, that it is Thursday again. It always is Thursday, and we're blessed with that, because the blessing is that we're always close to Shabbos. And Nomi, I'm going to add Yaakov Yeshabeh. Nomi should have a refuah shalema for all of Klal Yisrael and all our refuahs and our Yeshuas, and in the zechus also of those that we should be having in mind for an aliyah and a shamas. Kadosh Baruch Hu should really give us, each and every one of us, the ability to find true simcha through this beautiful chag of Sukkot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu la'afrish chala min ha'isa harei zu chala.
Amen.
Beautiful mitzvah, and the mitzvah of Shabbos, and the mitzvah of candles, and the mitzvah of being prepared, and the mitzvah of Avos Yisrael, and the mitzvah of really being able to find the true place of our simcha within this chag. May we all be zocher to dance together in Yerushalayim as soon as possible. For all those of you, I've had few messages already. Please send me the recording tomorrow. I'm on my way to Eretz Yisrael, and I wish we were all saying the same thing. But for Ezras Hashem, we really are all on our way to Eretz Yisrael. Thank you for joining us. Chol HaMoed off, and we look forward to seeing everybody back the Thursday after Yom Tov, which I know is going to come quickly. And Haley, your sukkah and your table ready for Shabbos and Yom Tov looks beautiful, and I can say, against Hashem, get it before I go to sleep tonight. Thank you, Katie, Will, and wishing everybody a very beautiful Shabbos, beautiful Yom Tov, and a time of simcha. And
Amen.
so, okay, thank you for being with us.
And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Shabbos.
Rebbitzin, I guessed well when I saw Letchworth. I said, okay, it's got to be Rebbitzin Gabbai. I was happy to see when your face came up that I was right.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful Shabbos, everybody.
Good Yom Tov.
Good Yom Tov. Thank you. I'll pass that message on to my mom, Katie. Thank you.
Thank you.